thank you so much for being so flexible with me.
Of course. No worries. How are you?
I'm doing good. I am shockingly going out of town last minute tomorrow. I was supposed to have some work this weekend. It didn't go through, and I'm just like, fuck this. My soul's been calling Santa Fe, New Mexico. The universe is like, here's a place to stay. So I'm going. And all of a sudden, it's funny, I was talking to my therapist about this. I'm like, the power of influence. Like, I, for 2 seconds, didn't think anything about driving by myself anywhere between 12 to 14 hours. And then a couple people said something. I didn't think anything of it. But of course, right before I fall asleep, I'm like, ooh.
Oh my God. I love that. You and I are very similar. So I followed a ping like that to Guatemala, and I moved there and lived there for a year and a half.
Nice.
Based solely off of intuition. So I feel you on that.
As you should. Like, to me, like, it's so funny because I was talking to my therapist. I'm like, despite whatever may be going on in reality, if every time I do something that technically from the outside world is probably not the best idea, they're always the best fucking ideas. The universe is like, yes, bitch, you listen to your intuition. So here's all this other stuff that you've been trying to work through or whatever it is, because you trusted this, we're going to fix this for you. So I've learned now to celebrate all that stuff. But it's funny how still the power of what you surround yourself with, the people and the words that they even speak, and allowing it. Because I'm like, I don't know, it's fascinating. But anyways, thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to talk to you. I want to make sure. So your first name is obviously Jaclyn, pronounced Jaclyn, correct?
Yes.
And is it Donato?
Donato.
Donato.
Uh-huh.
All right, let me make a little note so I don't butcher it. You can Donato. Okay, perfect. And Live Well by Jaclyn is your online brand company. Okay, cool. So real quick, so I like to keep it light. It's funny, normally, so I used to interview my guests, either we used to have cocktails out in bars and restaurants, or if you're into smoking weed, whatever. But that's gone aside now from COVID. But today I was like, fuck this. I'm almost on vacation and I've been working my ass off, so I poured myself a drink. I was like, what?
I love it. I have my LaCroix back here.
Hey, cheers. Ooh. Oh, well, hold on. That was a party foul. My first time working with a mic. Hold on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Party foul, kids. Why you don't drink and do podcasts? You will spill on your learning lessons. But anyways, I like to keep it super casual. Like, basically I'll just go into like a mini introduction of you, and then obviously you go more into like who you are, what you're about. And then I'll just go from there, basically asking you questions about everything that you talk about online, soulmate shit, attracting your best version of yourself, and all that stuff. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Sounds great.
Okay, let me make sure we're recording. Okay, we're recording. Yay. All right, kids, welcome to another episode of Conversations Under the Influence. You just missed it, but I've already done a party foul. I guess that's the universe saying, bitch, don't be drinking at 1:30 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. But I'm so excited for my guest, Jaclyn. She's super dope female entrepreneur, talking to everybody about love and attracting your soulmate by finding your inner soulmate first and foremost, and stop trying to fill the void. So without further any ado, Jaclyn, do you want to take off from there and tell us a little bit more about
Yeah. So you already just did a beautiful job describing what I do. So yeah, I help women love themselves. I teach them the tools to how to actually love themselves, like what that actually looks like, so that they can become their own soulmate, which in turn attracts the love that they have always been looking for. Because a lot of times we think that love that we're seeking is outside of ourselves, but we are able to find that within. And from that energy, that is the energy that attracts the relationship that you have always wanted in your life. So yeah, that is the work that I do. And it's amazing. I love it so much.
I love that. And then obviously you didn't wake up that way. Obviously, I'm sure with you had your own journey of this, and you wanted to share what you discovered. Is that correct?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I well, first of all, I had been single for 12 years before I met my current boyfriend, who I feel is my soulmate. I mean, of course, I've had relationships here and there, short-term things, but nothing super substantial. And so I was always seeking, and I kind of went on like my own journey, and for me, it was travel. So I did close to a year of backpacking. And then I came home from that trip, and I like jumped back into corporate life, and really like got back into the life that I was trying to leave in the first place. And I felt this nudge to go live in Guatemala. So I followed that, and I had done a health and wellness certification. And so I thought I wanted to be a health coach. And so I did that, and I was in Guatemala, and I was really intentional about my time there. I was like, I'm going to figure myself out once and for all. Like, I already did the eat, pray, love thing, and like things didn't pan out from that. And so I was really intentional, and I was like, I'm going to figure out this void that I feel like I'm missing, and I'm going to really go all in on my business, because corporate's not for me. And so I did another program to help get my health and wellness business off the ground. But what I didn't realize was that program was going to be really self-love centered. Mm-hmm. And in that program, I learned how to love myself. Like, I was seeking business coaching, but I actually learned how to love myself. And so I decided to completely pivot. And during that 6-month container, it was actually only 3 months into the program, I met my current boyfriend, and I just saw how
it works so quickly. People have no idea.
Yeah, it's so crazy how things can snap into place, how much flows when you really start to love yourself. Like, everything in my life shifted. Like, once I got into alignment with the type of coaching I wanted to do, that started flowing. You know, money flows from that space, the relationships, the soulmate friendships, like everything flows from the extent to which you love yourself. And so I was like my own walking testimonial, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like the best kept secret that I feel like people don't really know about until they start to embody it. And they're like, oh, I get it. Like, everything just starts to feel light and flowy. And so, that I kind of fell into it by accident, honestly.
I love it. 2 questions real quick. One, how old were you when this like enlightenment process kind of started happening?
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Well, it was 2016 when I did my like long trip around the world. So that was kind of like my first step into like seeking for something more. I stopped following what everyone else was doing. So I was like 27, 28. I'm 32 now. And so, yeah, I didn't meet my boyfriend until I was 31.
Love it. And then, so you said you started a program. So did you actually have to pay for the program?
Oh yeah.
This is my whole point. People will spend money all day long on stupid shit. We'll spend hundreds of dollars on fucking cocktails in one weekend. But if you see a program and it's 30, 40, maybe 100, maybe $500, you're like, oh my God, it's so expensive. So thank you for bringing that up, because I always want to encourage people, like, in areas of your life that are not working, invest in yourself. You are the best investment ever. And like, that money that you're putting into yourself is going to show up on so many more levels than it would have been from like spending it at the bar or like wasting it shopping on stupid shit. Like, believe me, you probably have already enough of the shit that you need. And going back to what you're saying, seeking this happiness, this love outside yourself, spending on this money, spend it on this, because then that's when things become aligned. You find your passion that in your business, and money flows, and then your person shows up and all that stuff. So that's so amazing. And the fact that like you also have done it yourself, I think is probably why like your flow for me I don't even know how I found you on social media, but like you can tell you're not trying to do or say anything that's not just naturally coming into flow and naturally from what you have experienced. And I think that for me is what hit me so like bam, because I've always talked about like be your own best friend. Like, I'm going on a trip by myself, which my brother's like, who cares if you're driving to Sedona by yourself or Santa Fe by yourself? You went to the Dominican Republic, rented a car, and drove around that place by yourself. Like, you're right. And it's funny because it's like, you know, especially, I don't know if it's in this day and age. I know it's a little bit more of like people. So if I'm 40 and people are like, why are you not married? Why this and all this pressure and all that stuff. And it's funny because it's like, as I've gotten older, and granted, it's been a journey for, and I am just as guilty. I think as you like, I think one of the posts I was reading is like, it's easy to get caught up with like not wanting to feel lonely or want something by your side, and you'll accept something that really is not fulfilling what you need. And then these people get in situations that the longer you are in them, we're human, you're going to get emotionally attached. I don't like, and I don't think women also understand the fact of when you're physical with somebody, the chemical reactions that happen that literally get you addicted to them. Men are a little bit different, hence why they can go and be cool with whatever it is. But it's like taking a step back and breaking the cycles and breaking the pattern and not being afraid of like being alone. Like what advice would you give to people who are either A, in the beginning stages of something that's not right, or B, also in something that's not right for them and they know it? Like, what advice would you give to somebody that's trying to get out but don't know how to get out?
I would say, I mean, first of all, your intuition always knows. So like you said, like, you know, when you're in a situation like that. And sometimes it's like, you have to get to that enough is enough stage. Like sometimes that's what it is. Like when it's like comfortable and like things, you know, it's hard to be like, no, like I want something more. Like you just have to have that inner knowing, like I deserve so much more than this. And like, I think when that happens, it's like, we get caught up in thinking like, well, my person's never going to show up, so this is like as good as it's going to get. Or like we get tired of waiting for the right person to come along, so we're like, this will do, he's like 80% there, like
I've
it's
done
fine.
that 1,000 times. That never works out well. I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, it never works out. And so like what I always bring it back to is self-love. Like that is like the number one way for you to realize that you are worthy of something more and something better. Like you are worthy of that soulmate love. And so when you really start to practice self-love practices, like the different things that I teach, like you slowly start to see your worth. And that's what happened to me actually in my program that I took. I was in another relationship. I was in a relationship that was not serving me. It was just okay for the time being. And as I was really starting to learn how to practice self-love, I was like, oh yeah, this is not it. Like, and I got the courage to be like, no, I am holding out for the relationship that I want forever. And so that was the shift. It was self-love.
I love that. And then would you like to share any tips for people that don't know what self-love is or looks like?
Yeah. So a really great place to start is honestly just spending uninterrupted time with yourself. So that can look like meditation, going on walks by yourself without any distractions, yoga, anything where you're just spending quality time with yourself. I have my clients date themselves. So either going to a restaurant alone or creating like a really amazing dinner experience at home where they're like lighting a candle and like putting on a cute outfit for themselves. Like they're alone, like pouring a glass of wine, turning on music, like again, no distractions. It's that quality time where you're like really getting to know yourself, and you're also like, you know, we're constantly distracting. We're either working or we're on social media, we're drinking or we're Netflixing, whatever. And so it's like making that a priority to get rid of all those distractions so you can hear yourself for the first time. You can hear what your inner guidance is trying to tell you. And like I said, really getting to know who you are at a deep level.
That's so beautiful. I love that. I think of so many people, like I was blessed. So when I moved to New York City after college, I didn't know anybody, got really depressed because I literally was in my little hole of a wall for a month. And finally I'm like, all right, homegirl, like get your shit together. You're 21 years old, living your dreams in New York City, and you're fucking depressed. Like get out there. And the first time I went out was miserable. Nobody talked to me, but I got over myself being like, I can't go out. So then the next time remember I went to the movies by myself because I wanted to watch a movie. Still not the best experience, but it wasn't as bad as at first. And the more I did it, the more, because here's the thing, nobody cares about what you're doing. In my head, I'm like, everyone knows I'm by myself. Everyone gives a shit. Everyone's looking at their thing or talking to their own people. And like, finally, when I was surrendering to it, it's like now, like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy doing things with people, but they got to be with the right people. Because if you're with the wrong people, they take away from the experience. And so for now, I'm like, I go and do things all the time by myself. And what I found is I actually then will meet and attract, and sometimes it's not a love relationship, but a friendship or a business opportunity and everything, because it takes power to be by yourself, especially in public. And I think too, what you're saying is like, if you're so afraid to be by yourself, you're gonna invite the wrong people over to your house. Like, you gotta be an exclusive club. Like, you gotta pay a fucking membership. Like, you gotta make sure you dress right, act right, do all the things right, or you're gonna get fucking kicked out of this club. You know what I'm saying? Like, hell no. But then the clubs that have no rules and regulations, that's where you get all the drama and all the shit on TMZ and like police chases and people are like, how did this happen to me? Bitch, you're in the wrong club. Like, go check your shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's so true.
I love that. And then as far as like your coaching and your programming, do you find, like, what do you find is like the biggest resistance and hurdles that people have for making this like shift of like just letting go to really be okay with loving them?
Yeah, I think it's getting to a place of realizing like they're worthy of love. They're worthy of doing this work. They're worthy of investing in themselves. And it's honestly like the shifts start to happen when they make that investment, when they hand over their credit card and they're like, yes, I'm doing this. Like, magical things start to happen in that moment. Like, it's honestly like I said, the investment is like a huge piece. And then like I've had clients who they'll have 2 sessions with me and all of a sudden they're attracting quality men who are coming up to them at grocery stores and like coming out of the woodworks. And like, it's this like visceral energy shift that is so magnetic. And I think I totally just like circled around your question. But
it's all gorgeous stuff. And then what was I going to say? I had a question going back to resistance. It was the biggest thing. So what would you say, I have my idea in my head, but like, what would you say are like maybe the top 3 reasons why we get brainwashed to thinking that we have to like Prince Charming is the answer? You know what I'm saying? Like, why do we find ourselves in these positions?
I think the biggest thing is thinking that love is within someone else. Like, we're thinking that we need someone else to complete us, or we need our Prince Charming to fill that hole within ourselves. But like, that's what causes the relationships that don't really work, because you get to be whole on your own to attract another whole person. There's just such an imbalance when you're using another person, of course, subconsciously, to fill that void that we get to fill on our own. So I would say that's the biggest thing.
I hear you. And vice versa. From my experience and also from just watching people, it's like, if you're filling a void and you've attracted someone else, that motherfucker is filling a void too. So don't be shocked when something doesn't work out. And usually there's bombs that go off, because there's always signs and warning signs in the beginning. And of course we want to ignore it and all this stuff. And like, and especially it's easy too, I think, people to get caught up in the fantasy, because like people that aren't ready truly to be in relationships can decorate the tree all day long, but it doesn't mean that tree gonna stay up all season and be there to like give you all the love and light and joy. When it falls over and breaks and lights your house on fire, you're like, what happened? You know, like,
it's so true. It's so true.
That tree wasn't meant to be a Christmas tree in the first place.
You're so spot on. And like, another thing that we do as women, especially as we get older, is like, we're holding on to our timelines with like a vice grip. Like, we're like, oh my God, like I need to get married and have kids by a certain time, and we sometimes can let that dictate who we're choosing. And you know, I've definitely settled in that like feeling of like, I need to find someone because it's going to be too late for me to have kids. And so releasing that timeline and just like trusting like the universe has my back, like it's going to happen when it's meant to happen.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And then what would you say for people that are struggling to love themselves, like things that they can do like today to like help create some shifts?
Yeah. So lately I've been working with the 5 love languages. Are you familiar with? Yeah.
Gary Chapman. Hey, what up? Yes. I know him. I've been studying him a lot lately.
Yeah. So what I teach is like, give yourself the love that you're seeking from someone else. And so self-love looks different for everyone. And so it's fun to kind of use the love languages to give yourself that type of love that you're seeking. Like for me, I really like words of affirmation. And
can we break the love languages down? Because I don't think a lot of people know. It makes a lot of sense. Do you want to go for it?
Yeah. So words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch, gifts, and what was the last one?
Quality time. Do we say quality time?
Yeah. Quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch, and gifts. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, like for example, words of affirmation for me, I like to write down self-love affirmations, and it can be things that you like to hear from men or just things that you want to hear in general. And then I record it in my voice memo in my phone, and I play it either in the morning or at night. So I'm actually hearing those words coming out of my own mouth. And it's like, it's beautiful words that you want to hear from someone else. So I do that. I write myself little love notes every day in my journal, like little sticky notes. I put them in my journal and just like, I love you, love me, like heart me.
I love it.
And things like that. Physical touch, you can like, when you get out of the shower, rub lotion on your body and thank your body parts and have it be like, you know, your moment of like being intimately like physical touch with yourself. Quality time would be, you know, like turning off distractions, going within, meditation, like I said before, dating yourself. Acts of service would be, you could plan out your week ahead of time, things like that, a little bit more like regimented. And then gifts, buy yourself flowers, things like that. So.
I always buy myself flowers. I remember I was really sad one year. It was Valentine's Day. I live in LA. So I went to downtown LA Flower Mart and bought like 4 or 5 different dozens of roses. And it was so cheap because it was downtown at the Flower Mart. And my house was popping. I did not think twice about being single on Valentine's Day. I was like, hey. Like,
I love that.
Because the thing is like, you can either sit in whatever it is that isn't, or celebrate what is and what's coming. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And it's amazing that thin line between being empowered and in alignment and then being out of it and like feeding depression and anxiety and all this stuff that isn't really real. You know what I'm saying? But to anybody that's listening, big business and marketers make lots of money at making people feel like shit. So maybe listen to Jaclyn and me, you know, who got a little heads up, because it's like, it's funny because it's like going back to like all the tools are really, really there. But yet we're so focused on distracting because we're taught to be afraid to be alone, you know? One of the things I always talk about too, the importance of, and I would love to hear your thoughts about this, but like, I also too know people that like bounce from like relationship to relationship, right? And for me, I'm like, there needs to be some sort of downtime, because I'm like listing of physical baggage and like actually traveling. If you're traveling constantly and you're constantly putting more shit in your bag but not unpacking it, like that's going to be a problem at some point. And relationships are no different. And I feel like so many people, usually if a relationship isn't working and you jump to the next one, usually the same problem is the same problem, and the common denominator in those problem is you know what I'm saying? It's always you. And so like, until you take a step back, because it's so easy to point the fingers and be like, oh, it's this person, it's this person. Well, no, it's like you're fucking attracting this shit, and there's a reason why you're attracting it, or there's a reason also why you're allowing that same cycle. So like, you got to take a step back and like do some things, buy yourself some flowers, whatever. And for me too, I feel like, especially when it comes to relationships, the things that you fear the most, being alone or like doing these things, are exactly what you need to be doing to get the things that you want. It's so crazy. Right there.
It's so true. And to speak into your point about jumping from relationship to relationship, it's like we were saying before, you're not, it's showing that you still need someone outside of you to fill something that you haven't quite addressed. So taking that time to actually be with yourself, be on your own without another person, like that's how you get like so firm in who you are, and like focusing on loving your life without anyone, like, you know, doing things that light you up. And that's what, because the thing is like you said, you're going to bring that into another relationship, and until you are so good on your own, you're just going to keep attracting crazy shit into your life.
It's the same stuff over and over again, different shape and form. Oh my gosh, I have all these thoughts and then they come and go. Hold on, give me a minute. We were just talking about the attraction part. So let's talk about real quick what a good soulmate, healthy love looks like and feel like. Because I also think too, a part of the problem is people don't know what that is. They think because also too, and then this is what I've learned from my own life experience and also from Gary Chapman, is our structure and our goal for love and relationship is usually our parents and our childhood growing up. Despite how fucked up it may or may not be, that's what we grew up knowing as love. And so I think when you also take some time to like sit by yourself and realize like, okay, these are things that I like, these are things that I don't like, and also the patterns you might be bringing from your history, from your family's history, and like where you can stop and start. Like, do you want to talk a little bit about like that process as well and how that affects actually finding a really good relationship?
Yeah, like, so for me, I never had an example of like what like real true love looked like. Like my parents got divorced when I was like a year old, and I just haven't seen a relationship that I've wanted to emulate. Like I like not until I got older, I had a couple of friends who had that like that love that you could really feel on a deep level when you're around them. But there weren't too many people around me where I was like, yes, like that is what I want. And for me, it was getting really, again, quiet and like going within and really asking myself, what is it that I want in a partner? Like, I want someone who makes me want to be a better person. I want someone who has a giant heart. Like I just fell into what that felt like for me. And so I had my list. And
did you physically write down a list?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And he's like literally everything that was on that list. Like,
I love it.
To a T. So yeah, it's for me, it was more of a process of going within, since I didn't have too many examples of what I wanted it to look like. And I just really asked myself, what does that look like for me? Because I really do believe it looks different for everyone. And, you know, that soul connected love, it isn't like rainbows and butterflies all the time. Like that love, like that brings up really like the deepest parts of you that haven't been healed yet. And so my boyfriend and I, like, we really work on stuff that comes up, but we work on it together. And it's like, it's not always pretty. It's not always easy, but it's like the most like healing, beautiful relationship that I've ever had. So I think there's a misconception that it's like, you know, it's perfect. It's definitely not perfect.
Hear that, boys and girls? Yeah, I do. I believe too, like we have this fantasy of it always should be like knight in shining armor and like symphonies or quartets playing all the time. And don't get me wrong, that's nice. But when people play into that, that's a facade. And then that's the shit that just goes like, you know, it's great. And then all of a sudden like bottoms out very quickly. Cause I think real love and like true love, when you're talking about like working together and soulmates, it is like, we're all messed up. We're all working through stuff. But again, like if you are bringing your broken self to another broken person, which we all are, but unless you have those skills to be like, this is my best version of myself, and I'm sharing this with you, and here are also my broken parts, that other person would never use it against you, to control you, to demean you. Because I also think too that it's easy when you get caught up in this fantasy. Because I know a lot of times, like, the courtship is this fantasy, so especially women fall in love with this idea, and then when their true version of their partner shows up and it's toxic and not healthy, they still hang on to this idea of what it is, and that's who they love. And then when the reality sets in, years and months will go by, months and years go by, and like, but like, that was never it. That was just like a marketing technique to get you to buy the product, but the product isn't really what you wanted, you know. And so I think it's so important, because it, like, if you're a broken person going into that, you're going to stay broken and stay controlled. But if you're more of a healed person going into that, you'd be like, love you, but I'm out, peace.
Yeah. And also too, like, it's like, for me, I'm in a relationship with someone who's really willing to work on themselves. And so like I said, we're able to work on those like, we both feel like we have broken pieces of ourselves in this relationship, but like, we've healed those parts of ourselves that we didn't even know needed to be healed, because both of us have brought that out of each other in like such a beautiful way. So yeah, it's, when it comes down to that, both people have to be willing to do the work. It can't just be like, okay, like, your shit's coming up, like, peace out. Okay, now yours is, peace out. Like, it's like working together on it, and like not running away when you know that love is like real, deep, and true.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Is there like any last few tidbits of wisdom you would like to share with people that are listening, that may be working through this, or trying to find their soulmates, or trying to find themselves back to loving themselves?
Yeah, I would say it all starts with you. The person that you're looking for is really yourself. Like, the pursuit of finding your soulmate is really the pursuit of coming back home to yourself. And so when you can really start to practice self-love, like, that's going to bring you to everything that you are wanting in your life. And of course, I can help you along the way too.
So drop some tidbits. How can they find you? Where can they find you? All that good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm Live Well by Jaclyn on Instagram, livewellbyjaclyn@gmail.com. And I have a 3-month one-on-one program where I work really intimately with my clients on becoming their own soulmate, so they can attract the love they're looking for.
I love that. And for everyone who's listening that wants that information, I'll also be putting it in the comments link below. If you guys haven't already done so, I'm so bad at this, subscribe, turn on your notifications, like that stuff, follow me, follow Jaclyn, and be nice to yourself today. Do something good for yourself. Date yourself today. Even if you are in a relationship, it's also, I'm sure you would say this too, it's still so important, right? To date yourself even if you are in a relationship.
100%.
Right. Okay. Yep. Thank you guys. Cheers. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Let me end this. Let's see. I want to end that real quick just for the recording part. Oh my God, you are amazing. I think we could do some more things together. I want to definitely. Where? San Clemente?
Yeah, I'm in San Diego right now, but just for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I live in San Clemente.
I was in San Clemente a lot. My mom was down there probably like 7-8 years ago, and quite a few rehabs. So I used to be down there all the time. But yeah, it's such a great area. So I'll have to touch base with you there next time. I'm really excited. I really think that this is gonna, because I have, so like, my fan base isn't huge, but on my platforms, although I did hire a social media person and she's doing amazing, it's growing.
Nice.
But I got a fan base like around 10,000 on a couple, and it's funny, I hear from so many women, especially, who are either in bad relationships and everything. So I really think that this is gonna help create some insight for people. I really hope this will, like, maybe we can do a part 2, because I really think that even a lot of my fans like will eventually hit you up, because I think I preach this shit, but I preach a lot of other shit, but you're more specifically targeted. So I think this is great. And thank you for what you're doing, because I think a lot more people need to be talking about these things, because they don't teach you this stuff.
Yeah. And like, a lot of people don't even, I mean, I didn't even have really a real awareness about self-love until like I fell into it. I think people don't like, you hear the word self-love, but you don't really get it until you start embodying it. And then when you start embodying it, you're like, oh, holy shit, I get it now.
And also too, I think too, especially from a woman's standpoint, there's a lot of pressure for women to be taking care of everything else before they take care of themselves. And
Yeah.
it's like, hell no, like you can't serve from an empty vessel. Like I heard that a couple of years ago and I'm like, that's so true, because I myself too found myself give, 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 get. And then I'm like this at the end of the day, crank. I'm like, who are you? And I'm like, I wasn't. And then other people in my life also weren't respecting me because I wasn't respecting myself, you know? So,
Yeah.
oh my God, yay, I'm so excited.
Yay! That was so fun.
And then you, I think I remember when I was looking, you have an online course already too, right? That you
I
have.
have one that I'm like, I don't really talk about right now. I'm probably going to pull it off of my Instagram because I'm working on a new course and that's going to be a lot better than the first one that I put out.
Okay. So, I was going to tweet it up, but yeah, we can do it later. I actually, have you heard of Teachable?
Yeah, that's what I think that's the one I use.
Okay.
If I don't, I know Teachable.
Yeah, so like, it's funny. I had a 28-day program so the only reason, back up real quick, how I know Gary Chapman is I'm working on my second book, and it's actually strictly on relationships. It's called The Shit They Should Have Taught You in Relationship, or The Shit They Should Have Taught You in College, Relationships. But just simple stuff. And that's funny because it's like, again, like going back to the 5 languages, or even like the 5 apology languages, like simple, but also kind of rocket science at the same time, because all these people struggle with this shit, but yet none of us, because we don't have the awareness of being like, oh wait, no, he genuinely apologized, but because I didn't grow up with that kind of apology, I didn't think he apologized, so we're gonna get in a fight about his apology, versus being like, let's understand how we're communicating. It's like this crazy circular thing. So
yeah,
yay. I'm excited to talk to you more. And then
I know, me too.
Thank you so much for being patient. And then I'll let you know when this launches and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll have all your links and all that stuff. And then definitely would love to do something in the future. I think this could be an ongoing thing.
Yeah, I'm so down. I would love to.
And we're on the same time zone, and we're not.
I know, it's perfect.
All right, Mama, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and I'll be in touch, okay?
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Right, bye.
Purple butt in my backwoods. If you smoke with me, you'll get high as